Hello, I'm Dr. Gail Randall, and I'm here for my 6 o'clock Instagram TV. And if you have joined me, welcome, and you're my date. So tonight we're going to talk about, hi, thanks for the waves. We're going to talk about consumption. And, what is that? Anyway, first I want to credit Mr. David Attenborough, and especially his documentary called The Day the World Changed, because that just launched me into a whole new way of thinking, and realizing that we can take small steps and it will make a difference on our planet and for our health crises and for our planetary crises, because we are facing the worst crises that we ever have before. And a lot of people go, oh, throw up their hands, I can't do anything, I didn't do it, wasn't my fault. And I understand that, but guess what? We can make a difference. We can make a difference with small steps. I'm going to talk about some of those tonight. I've been talking about them on my different TV shows, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I don't want to take the pleasure out of people's Christmases, but honestly, we have way too much stuff. We all have way too much stuff, and we need to think about that. All of that stuff that we have takes energy. It takes energy to make it, and if we're going to buy a bunch of stuff to give to people, it takes energy. Where did it come from? How far did it travel? What went into making it, and how much did we have to extract from the earth to do that? So it's all a consideration. Better gifts might be things you made or things you already have that you want to repurpose and re-gift. That's not a bad thing anymore. It's actually a good thing. I am so proud of my family, actually, because we decided to get together and celebrate and not give gifts. That our gift is being together, because we haven't been together because of COVID and other things for a couple of years. So it's a great gift for us to come together and share a lovely meal and not be burdened with all that, what did you buy for this person or that person? It's just, it's over the top. It really is, and that'll cut back on consumption. So, I also, if you think about it, consumption started when people first came on the planet. It started how long ago? 300,000 years ago is when humans first came on the planet, and they had to eat and they had to consume stuff, and that they were in balance though with nature and the earth and the animals and plants and things, and they didn't really waste stuff. Whatever they took, they made use of, and whatever they had left over, they used to, re-fertilize the earth with and things like that. They went from just being here to live in villages, and villages were very cool. Villages, people, they were truly in a community. They helped each other. They trusted each other. They didn't have locked doors. They shared things. They grew things together, and they raised their children together and formed ways of worshiping together. It was a beautiful thing. And why we moved to cities, I'm not really sure. I don't know if anybody knows. That was about 8,000 years ago. And when you moved to the cities, it required more transport because people were further apart and things had to be transported in, so that used more energy, and so they needed supplies and food and things that they didn't have before. In the little villages, they had everything they needed. And then it became unsafe. The larger the cities got, the more they consumed, the more they wanted, and they became unsafe. And that's when we started isolating. That's when we became distant from our community. And we all know, if you've been reading the literature or listening to me, community is an essential part of being healthy. So, I think we need to figure out how to get back to that, at least create our communities within the city, or our villages within the city, if you will. So we need to get back to that, like blue zones. The blue zones on this planet are where people live a really long time. I've talked about that on my TV shows. But they're all in isolated places. They're either on islands or peninsulas or in mountain villages and stuff. They all are villages. So it's back to nature. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of it. It's community. And when you look at the different blue zones, you find that that's one of the main factors they have in common is socialization and community and sharing food and sharing talk and laughter and, walking around and touching each other and having their arms locked and things like that. We need more life like that. So talk a little bit about more about consumption. It's just when consumption gets too much, like mega consumption. And, this United States of America is pretty good at that. They just think about clothes. It used to be we bought 12 new outfits a year, and now it's 68 new outfits a year. And these fast fashion companies, which I talked about in my other TV shows, like H&M and Zara, they knock off other fashions they see coming on Instagram TV or in the magazines, and they will reproduce them within a week. Within 2 days, they've reproduced them. Within a week, they're in jets flying all over the globe to 500 different stores. Okay, jet fuel. That's very consumptive. And then they have this sort of mode where they get people attracted in. People get all hypnotized when they come in the store. I gotta have it. I saw that on Instagram. And then within a week, they've restocked their whole store, and the other ones are old, and they need to buy new ones. So it's very wasteful. The average American throws away 80 pounds of clothes a year. And places like Ghana and Africa and third world countries don't even want our old clothes anymore. They end up being incinerated, which adds more to the carbon debt, and it's very, very wasteful. So my suggestion to you and to others, if it's not you, is, repurpose some of your old clothes or buy clothes that are really durable. Places like Amazon or Patagonia, they have used stuff. Buy used stuff. They have all these, actually, look at the Gen Zs and the next generation. They go to these used stores and they dress themselves and they have a certain look, and it's kind of cool, really, I think. And I tell my girls at the office, I go shopping in the closet. They go, "Where'd you get that? Is that new?" I go, "No, I went shopping in the closet." Because like I said, we all have way too much stuff. And we can use it, and we can repurpose it. And that's really what this is all about, is trying to figure out how to reduce the amount we extract from the earth. We're really extracting energy, minerals, cloth, you name it, from the earth. And who knew that we could run her out of resources? But we are. Another way to look at overconsumption is it's a lack of self-esteem. Some people just have to buy because it makes them feel like, they're getting value from stuff they have. But of course that's meaningless and it doesn't last at all. People don't think about it, and when they think, oh, well, we need to have renewable energy. We need to change the climate by getting renewable energy. And it doesn't matter whether we have wind, gas, solar, coal. Humans use a lot of energy. We do. And we've got to figure out how to reduce our energy. You know, from the time you wake up in the morning, you know, how many lights do you turn on? You know, when you go to brush your teeth, do you turn it off in between when you're brushing and then turn it on again to rinse? Because, you know, there are people on the planet that have never seen as much free water that goes in between that period of time, you know, in their lifetimes. That amount of free, clean water they've never seen. You know, and we're going to have a water shortage. We're going to have a water shortage here in California. It's predicted that within 20 years, you know, the Sacramento Valley, which is one of the most productive agricultural sites in the country, maybe the world, is not going to have any water. But, you know, Jimmy Carter, I don't know if anybody remembers Jimmy Carter, but I remember Jimmy Carter, and he used to ask people to shut down, you know, turn, if it's during the summer, turn down their rheostats at night, you know, need to have it be so cold, you know, when you're sleeping, and same thing in the wind energy, turn off the lights, you know, just simple stuff that we can all do that will add up and help our planet. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, this climate change, it's not my fault. I didn't do it, and they feel like they're being punished. But it's not like that at all. You know, they're not really being punished. It's our Earth, who has always been our teacher, trying to tell us something. Hey, you guys, I'm running out of gas over here, so, you know, cut it down a little bit. I still want to be your mother, but cut down your consumption. It's not hard. You know, like I said, from the time you wake up, you know, just brushing your teeth, and, you know, how many electronic devices do you turn on or do you need to have turned on? Try to keep it at a minimum. Then, you know, it's not, I mean, electric cars are great, but if you think about electric cars, they require, you know, have these big, huge batteries, right? And I do drive a hybrid, and, you know, any of our electronics, even what I'm talking on right now and you're watching on, require a lot of precious metals and minerals that we're extracting from the earth at a magnanimous rate. And once that's done, where does it go? Is it repurposed? Is it reused? You know, I don't think so. I don't think so. So you need to figure out how to repurpose, reuse, and keep your devices working as long as possible. But if we go to all electric cars, which is really good in one way, it's not good in another way. You know, if you ask the Gen Zs, they don't even want our cars. They go, I don't want a car. You know, they get it. They get this thing that's going on, and they don't want to waste it. They want better transport systems, and we do need better transport systems that are more efficient, so we can all reduce having cars, you know, and use those instead. We need that. You know, this whole climate change, global warming, it's based on, you know, the temperature. They say you can't go above 1.5 degrees centigrade. And I thought that was based on some biologic thing that would, you know, it's already killing the coral and the sea life and things like that. I thought it was based on that. Well, come to find out, it's actually based on business. Who knew? It's decided by the world. It used to be 2 degrees centigrade. Now it's 1.5. And it's decided by the World Bank and the Governmental Panel of Climate Change. Well, that's interesting. You know, they projected that over the next 29, 30 years, that the economy is going to increase by 2.3 times bigger than what it is now. So, I mean, what I'm seeing right now is like mega inflation. I mean, we got gas at $5 a gallon. We've, you know, the people that work in the fast food industry, like serving hamburgers, are making, $21, $22 an hour. Oh my God, what's up with that? Well, it's partly inflation, but it's also partly workforce, and it's partly they do not want to give up their hold on supplying that fast food to the population. So they can simultaneously, continue to extract resources from the planet, and it's mega because they have to transport that stuff all over, because it's not just here, it's all over the world. They've got McDonald's on Champs-Élysées now and every place else, and at the same time, they're poisoning us. They're poisoning us because those foods are pure poison. They have chemicals in them. The meats themselves are causing diabetes, an increase in the diabetes epidemic, including the sugary drinks. And it's not food. People think that it's food. It's really not food. So not only are we eating poison, but we're not getting any nutrients from it. So it's extracting our very life from us, our life source. So, we got to rethink that. But they don't want to give up their hold because they're getting all this money, and then so they're supporting the meat industry, and it's all a convoluted mess, but it's economic driven. Now, on top of that, they say in 2100, the economy is going to increase 7 times bigger. I can't even imagine that. I mean, the Earth systems are changing. They are warming. We know that. Like the Greenland, which is melting, the Arctic ice shelf, which is melting. But in so melting, they're also creating heat. Isn't that wild? So they're warming, but they're creating more heat by melting. So that is not a good thing. And, can we reverse the climate crisis by renewable energy? Of course that's going to help. But what we can do a lot more effective, and that's in our hands at a grassroots level, is by reducing our consumption. So we don't need so much stuff. We really don't need a lot of plastic toys. We don't need all this extra stuff. Sure, we need food. Sure, we need all that other stuff. But, that's healthy and organic and grass-fed and that kind of thing. But a lot of things we don't need. I mean, when it comes to vehicles, we say, okay, we'll go to electric vehicles. I already talked about the metals in there. But right now, there's 1 billion cars on the road. 1 billion cars. And then they're projecting in 2050, there'll be 2 billion cars on the road. I mean, I don't know about you, but we already got a lot of traffic here. Where are those cars going to go? What roads are they going to drive on? Are they going to make more roads out of concrete and oil, which are, the very polluting substances on our planet already? It's kind of nutty, So we really got to think about, we got to reframe the way we think about how we live. Do we really need so much? What do we really need? And get it down to that. And if you live that way, if you live mindfully every day of just every choice you make, think about it. Is this a regenerative choice? Is this healing me? Is this healing the planet? So if you're buying organic grass-fed, if you eat meat, yes it is. If you're buying organic vegetables, yes it is. That's healing you and healing the planet. If you're buying used clothes, that's another choice that is healing you and healing the planet. So we can make a lot of these choices. They seem small, but actually if they add them up and we all do it, they're huge. And they can help the planet, and they can help us and help our health crisis as well. So just go through a whole day, and look at everything you eat and everything you do, and think about how might I make this better? How might I make this better? So what we really need to do is lighten up. You know, get rid of some of our stuff, give it to people that do need it, and not, you know, don't waste it, don't throw it away, not at all, but repurpose it or give it to people that need it. And don't feel like you're being punished. Then you can feel good about what you're doing. You can feel good about you're actually helping the planet, which is going to help you. So what's good for the planet is good for you, and what's good for you is good for the planet. That's why I suggest an organic, regenerative diet. Of course, climate change is going to get worse, but if we start doing some of these things, it won't get worse as quickly. And the earth is surprising, and she is so sensitive to positive movement that I really believe that all the scientists' projections will be thrown out of the court, because it was the same thing happened with COVID. When we removed ourselves from the environment, things changed so fast, so rapidly, the scientists were astounded. I mean, there was evolution, you know, animals that were extinct came back, you know, things like whales coming up with new languages because they could actually hear each other, or, you know, the little baby green turtles getting back into the ocean because the beaches weren't totally clogged with human beings. So it is possible, because we've witnessed amazing changes. And if we could just take some small steps to give the animals and plants and things a break, it'll come back. It's been shown in many areas. If we stop this horrible kind of fishing that we do with these 7-mile-long gill nets that kill everything, it comes back. The ocean comes back. So we can do this. So we need to take a pause from fish, and that's how we can do that on a grassroots level. This can all be done on a grassroots level. We can't wait for they or them or the scientists to fix this. We need to fix it. We are the solution. So, and it's not hard. And then you can feel good about what you're doing. The most meaningful thing you can do is join together with other people in your community and actually do something, like join a CSA or grow a garden together, or, you know, want to set up a clothes trading system, or, you know, there's a lot of innovative things that you can do. Regeneration is generous. You know, it's supportive, and it's transformative. And I want to be part of those things. I don't want to hide in my house and isolate and be afraid, you know, somebody's going to attack me for my belongings or whatever. I want to be part of a community that's living, truly living and giving to each other. Recycling is a good way, although unfortunately it probably doesn't have the impact that we'd like it to have globally. But at least it reminds us that we're doing something on a daily basis, you know, and excuse me, remember, plastic comes from fossil fuel, and paper is basically a forest in another form, and paper towels are paper. Recently I got into bamboo paper towels, and I feel pretty good about that. They're not quite as fluffy, but they work, and it's not devastating our forests. Most of the worlds don't even want our recycled plastic. They don't even want it anymore, just like the clothes. They're like, no thanks. And then they incinerate it, which makes all kinds of toxins and more nanoplastics and more CO2. So I just think we got to give it up. I mean, plastic is a terrible, terrible addiction. You don't need to go buy a plastic bottle of water on a daily basis. You can buy a steel cup. Here's my steel cup. And fill it up with your filter that you have at your house, or a Brita. Even if you can't afford that, you can get a Brita filter that fits in a little pitcher and make your own water. And that way, you're not adding to the nanoplastics, which is one of the worst things for the ocean and us. The nanoplastics are like not any bigger than a molecule, and the toxins in the ocean, which are so many now, but love to bind on those nanoplastics, and they're pervasive, and they now are in all the fish. So the fish are poisonous. The nanoplastics carry the poisons, and the poisons are then in the fish. So they're in the air. As a matter of fact, they're in the water. We can't, because they're so small, we can't even filter them out. So let's try to remove as much plastic from the equation as possible. Just stop using single-use plastics altogether. Those little plastic bags in the grocery store, buy your own nets, or make some, or make some cloth bags or whatever. Or just put your stuff straight in the cart. It's not going to kill you. You take it home and wash it. Back to food. Although growing the food non-conventionally is horrendous and is one of the biggest contributors to carbon debt, because they use a till system and it releases carbon. And every year at planting season, they have these satellites and they measure the carbon, and it just goes sky high. And then it goes down while the plants are growing. But then again, it adds to the carbon debt. It's huge, huge, huge. If you add up all of the contributors related to food, it is the hugest contribution to climate change, without a doubt. The transport of the food, the growing of the food, all of it. And the waste is one of the worst parts that we don't even think of. I now compost. I feel pretty good about that, but it's like it in and of itself, food in the landfill creates what? Greenhouse gases. So it's not a good thing. And not only that, it's a waste of resources that have been extracted from the planet, and they're just going to nothing except creating more damage to our atmosphere. The economy of waste is that it's extractive. If it continues at this rate, it's going to foreclose on our future. So, do your best to try not to waste. Compost. I heard that Los Angeles is going to actually put in, like San Francisco, another garbage can specifically for food waste. So that'll be fantastic. That'll be absolutely fantastic. The regenerative response would be to make products that cheat the system and move more towards life-giving and life-restoring mechanisms. For instance, regenerative farming, regenerative forestry. And what we can do as individuals is change our perspective of what is a good life, of what we actually need in our lives. We can do that. A lot of people say, well, solar is not a good thing because it uses way too much land. But actually, if you compare it to fossil fuel industry, it uses a lot less land than the fossil fuel industry. I had a lady on my podcast, Soul Stories, who's a tree farmer, and she's a young woman. She's won lots of prizes. She's one of the youngest. Hannah Gamble is her name. from St. Lucius Farms, and they're just doing some amazing stuff. They're getting into agroforestry, which means not only are they growing trees, but they're growing food in their trees or under their trees. And she's also, this is a very unique method. She's starting new kinds of trees, like the ancient trees that were originally in the landscape, because the diversity supports the tree population in general. Now that's really regenerative and forward thinking. That's the kind of forward thinking stuff we need to be into. You know, a lot of companies and corporations, you know, who were into sustainability, which didn't work. Sustainability meaning you take, but you leave. You still leave as much as you take. It didn't happen that way. So now they're super into regeneration, which is great. They just don't really all know exactly how, but this lady with her forestry, she has figured out how, and a lot of industries have. You know, it also is good to point out that every time in our history that there's been a concentration of capital, meaning money, resources, so forth, there's been an uprising. So we need to start making our little steps straight away so we don't head towards that, right? Degeneration is extractive. Regeneration is sharing and rebuilding and regrowing. It is life sourcing. Regeneration focuses on humanity in a whole different way of supporting, healing. Little things add up to bring big changes, transformation on our Mother Earth. Sounds a little bit like those villages we talked about, right? You know, as I said, food is the worst contributor. You know, the whole food system. If we could change the whole food system, we'd be sitting pretty good. You know, some people say a third of the greenhouse gas emissions come from food, but actually, when you add together all of the mass-produced, ultra-processed, you know, as I referred to before, junk food, and you know, all the transportation that goes with it, and the health crisis and the cost of the health crisis that goes with it, it's much, much more. Much, much more. The food, without a doubt, is the largest contributor to global warming and climate change and our health crisis. Some people say, oh no, it's only a third, but you know, like I said, they're not taking into account the production costs, the transportation, the packaging, you know, the junk food, which we have no nutrients from, and that is just extracting health from us, you know. So in closing, I just want to say we need to take everything we do into mind with regeneration as a background. Now, once you get into a habit, which takes about 30 days, it'll be natural for you. You don't need to like consciously think about it, but when you do take a day or two and consciously think about it, you'll learn a lot of stuff. You'll learn a lot of stuff about, you know, our population, about consumption in general, about extraction, and about what you can do to transform the planet. And it's not big. It's not something that we have to go, oh, I can't do anything. You can do many things. So it becomes a practice, just like anything. So I'd like to see us as one people, because it's my belief and my vision that all of us, no matter what color, no matter what creed, no matter what religion, no matter what gender, no matter what age, we're all humans. No matter what country we live in, no matter what, we're all humans. We're all part of humanity. And if we can agree on that one thing and agree to honor each other's diversity, and then we may not always agree, but we can agree on that one thing. We only have one planet. So one people, one planet, living regeneratively is going to be the healing thing for our planet and for ourselves. Just like my new book that's going to come out in June, Soul Doctoring, is called Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet. I've been thinking about this for more than 20 years. I've got it in vision. I got it told to me when I was born in a near-death experience, and I had it in a Sundance vision and many other ways. So it's finally come true. And we're talking about it right now. So that's my message for tonight. Does anybody have any questions or comments or additions? Or you can always DM me. Thank you very much for the hearts. You know, I do love you guys, and that's why I'm doing all this, because we need to do this for not just us, because, well, I'm probably not going to be here, but although you never know, I'm pretty stubborn, and I take great care of myself. So it's for the children, and the children of the children, and for the future generations, and we have to take some small steps for them to transform our planet back to where she needs to be the guardians of this earth, and take care of her and the animals and plants and things, to be in balance. That's what we're here for. Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much. And tell your friends that they can watch this on Instagram TV. So it's always there. Okay. Tune in next week. See you then. Bye-bye.